at the things that aren't happening, that ought to be, that are so obvious, that are staring us in the face, angry that people have been actually marching the clock backwards, but inspired that there are stories of individual Americans out there who are seizing the initiative. And they're going out and doing these amazing things. And so we've written this book, 254 pages, recycled Alberto Gonzalez, Attorney General emails. We know how to turn over all the rocks. You know, I got TV cameras here, I can't say anything more. To be on my best behavior. But at the end of the presidential race, we were both frustrated, not as much, though we were obviously frustrated by the outcome, but frustrated that things we tried to talk about so hard during the course of the campaign we think are so important to all Americans, regardless of your party label. This is not a story that belongs to Democrats or Republicans or conservatives or liberals. This is everybody. This is an American story. We're the richest country on the face of the planet. We have this extraordinary technology, extraordinary creativity. We have the ability to go out and solve most of these problems, and we're not even trying. And the reason there's this title, This Moment on Earth, it's not going, I can't emphasize enough how critical this moment really is. Because there's not just a tipping point on global climate change that stares us in the face. There's a potential tipping point on our fisheries, on our lakes, rivers, streams, waters. 19 states, parents can't take their kids fishing and hope to, if they're lucky enough to catch a fish, eat the fish. Not allowed to. Mercury, PCBs, other contaminants. 44 states out of 50, there are warnings against eating the fish. What has been the administration's policy with respect to terror? They went to Iraq based on the so-called 1% doctrine. 1% doctrine. There's a 1% chance somebody's going to attack you, you've got to do something about it. Well, there's a 90% chance against all the scientists in the world that human beings are doing what we're doing. And if you got on an airplane and the pilot got on the radio and said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard, there's a 90% chance that we're going to crash and a 10% chance you're going to get where you're going, you're going to get off the plane, right? So it's, how do you do it? And what do you do? Well, let me just, no choice otherwise. You know what that means? We cannot build one more pulverized coal plant in America that doesn't have capture and sequestration and eliminate carbon. Can't do it. You all have this big TXU thing going on down here. And I'll tell you, we wrote it in the book before they'd cut the deal with the environmental community, but the deal isn't good enough yet. So I'll end by saying that this book, and we can talk about some of these things and more, is the story of Americans, from ranchers in New Mexico to a cherry farmer in the state of Washington to an ex-Marine, 67 years old, in North Carolina, who's now a full-time river keeper, protecting the rivers because he and his son were fishing and they started to get sores and lose their memory, and other fishermen were passing out, and they found it came from the hog farming waste. It was just pouring into the river. We've got to behave better. And we can do it and make a lot of money. All kinds of companies around America are now learning that they can make money by being responsible.
I won't talk very long because I do want to hear your questions. I hope you will get angry when you read this book for about 10 minutes. And I hope when you finish you'll be so inspired by the people in the book that you will start to reflect on what it is that you care about, what are you upset about, what is it in your neighborhood or in your bailiwick needs attention, your particular attention or community attention, and there are many ways in which to help. And then do something. Women get cancer today, particularly the rise in breast cancer amongst childbearing age women. Not the premature women, estrogens, but young women who never had cancer to this age. We know why. It's being proven now, but we know why. It's estrogenicity of chemicals in the beauty products, in cosmetics, and in household products. We know which ones are the most relevant, about them. But also we don't know, or we don't have studies yet, on the knowing what we know. One of the most lethal things that I was just, by the way, at a whole day conference of toxicologists on Friday in Pittsburgh, celebrating Rachel Carson's birthday. And Rachel Carson is from Pittsburgh. Died in 1991, and I assumed the responsibility for our family in Pittsburgh and all what they did. And because we'd come out of a huge recession, and we were a steel town, coal, etc., beautiful rivers, but they were all barges and industry and coal. Jobs were lost, people were unemployed, and people were depressed. And I used to come to Pittsburgh from Washington and see really depressed people in the streets. And it broke my heart because I didn't know what to do. And I thought, so what do we have in this city? We have good-hearted people, really the hardest working, best-hearted people. They're depressed. We have beautiful rivers that are dirty. Can't swim in them, can't fish in them. Don't even look very nice because they've got all these decayed, dying steel mills. And so I saw in that an opportunity to convene people, to challenge their thinking, to show them pictures of beautiful cities in the world, riverine and marine, etc., so on and so forth. And in seeing that, we will be able to build a team spirit in the city to make Pittsburgh in 10 years, #1 green-built city in the country, after a recession, and without a huge amount of returned industrialization or others. We're building that up with IT and other things. The point is we can do it. And so I want to just answer questions that are specific, but I want you to know that I believe with all my heart there is nothing we cannot do other than clean up those 80 years of stuff that's already up in the air. Beyond that, we can do a lot, and that's why it's such a precious moment. Thank you.
Now, what is that insignia you have on yours? I get the question.
For 15 years ago, you made a donation to create a high school graduate.
Right.
Well, when I graduated, it was 20 years ago. It was the School of Urban and Public Affairs.
You know that only now, an amazing thing.
It's going back there for my 35th reunion.
Okay, well, they are now going to have, it's amazing.
Your which reunion?
Carnegie Mellon.